such a big game, a battle that just can't be won. Life is such a long game, and we've only just begun. Life is such a hard game, yet this challenge is so fun. Life level 1.
Hello, Nathan.
Howdy.
Thanks for coming out, man.
Yeah, absolutely. No problem. This is a nice setup you have here.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's a nice little... I love that it's a fake setup, but it looks good on camera. Like, that's all you need, right?
Fake? How's it fake?
Like, this wall I just built, and then it's just concrete wall all around us.
Okay. No, it still looks good. Okay, no, this is awesome. I'm excited.
Yeah, awesome. I'm glad that you came out here on such a blistery day.
Yeah, actually, it wasn't that bad. I mean, everybody kept saying, 4 feet this and 2 feet of snow or whatnot, supposedly. So I just, when I woke up and I saw it was raining, I was like, okay, good. I was like, nice. So, yeah, it wasn't too bad at all. Very easy.
Yeah.
Very easy.
So you're going to be moving away here soon. So I actually ended up getting you a moving away gift.
Oh, you did? Oh, thanks. Yes.
So this is my way of showing my appreciation for...
Is this what I think it is? Oh, buddy, yes. This is the best gift. Anybody, if you're wondering, if you ever need a housewarming gift for somebody, highly recommend this truffle hot sauce. It's amazing. I've had it. This is my 5th bottle I've gone through because I've ordered. I got it once for Christmas as a surprise from Santa, fell in love with it after I tried it, and ever since then... I've just been going through bottles. So I actually just finished my most recent one, so thank you.
You're welcome,
very
buddy.
much
You're welcome.
Really appreciate that.
I figured since you're going to Texas, you're going to be getting some good barbecue. It's going to be good by default, but it doesn't hurt to throw some hot sauce on it every once in a while.
Right, and I do a lot of cooking at the home, too. So when I am cooking at home, that'll be good for those meals. But yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to the new adventures out in Dallas and everything, so it should be exciting.
As you should.
Yeah. I can't wait. Just because, life brings these adventures... And you never know what's going to happen. It's taking that leap of faith, and just believing in yourself and knowing that you're going to make it work and stuff. So it's exciting.
A new Nathan is on the horizon.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, you could say that, man. You could say that.
You're listening to Life Level 1. My name is Bryan McConnell. I'm here with Nathan Sortman. We've known each other for about 5 years now. He is the older brother of Kristen, who you've heard many times on this podcast.
Yes.
And...
Yeah. The wiser older brother, because there's another one, but I'm the wiser older brother. I want to make that clear.
And the other brother is more, he's very wise as well. So,
right? He's wise. Just I'm a tad bit wiser.
He has some experiences through his lack of wisdom.
That's right. That made him actually smarter. That's right. It's a good way of putting it. It's very true.
I'm very excited to get him on the podcast eventually as well.
Oh, yeah. You got to have him on here next time he's in town. You got to have him on for sure.
For December, I wanted to get you, Brandon, your older brother, and Kristen, and myself all on here at once, and it was just going to be a complete shit show.
Oh, okay.
I do have 4 mics. We could do it. But obviously with COVID and then them with their situation. And
you know what you should maybe heavily consider, and I don't know if this is possible, if it's possible to travel with it, if we all go at the when we do that family vacation we've been talking about in North Carolina in September, we're all going to be there. One night we could just record a podcast. I mean, again, I know it's a lot to travel with, but I'm just trying to think of the next time we're going to all be together.
I have a little digital recorder. I could just...
Right, it might not be the best quality, but you get good content.
It's the same quality.
Oh, is it?
Audio-wise.
Oh, okay.
And I could same quality video if I bring the camcorder.
Something to consider.
Yeah.
Something to consider, because that would be great.
I would love to do that.
When we're all there.
Yeah.
Hanging out.
Hopefully it works.
Yeah. Hopefully it works. But anyways, okay.
I'll make one of these, because I really like that this sign is in every episode that I do with video. I'll make like a little miniature version,
that'll be
and we'll just like put it on the table in the corner.
Yeah, that'll be really good. That'll be a good idea. Yeah.
So when I asked you if you wanted to be on the podcast, you said yes, but we have to debate about something.
Yes, I'm a firm believer in like classical Greek and philosophical Roman like debates. I believe it really helps challenge your mind. It helps you, really be able to communicate your stance on whatever it is, and I think it just sharpens you in your life. And so, yeah, I'm a true proponent for like good friendly debate and stuff and backing up your ideas and challenging each other. I think it makes you think about things differently. You get other people's perspectives, something you might not have thought of before, this angle, that angle, things of that nature. So, yeah, I do love a good debate.
I love that about you. And one of the reasons why is because you're not judgmental. I'm not going to try to blow too much smoke up your ass because I know how uncomfortable that can be, but you're a very fun guy to communicate with because debate is basically verbal martial arts is pretty much what it is.
Yes.
And you do grow from it. You learn, you get cut a few times, and then the wound heals and scars over, and you learn your lessons and whatnot. And with you, whenever we're having a healthy conversation about something and you and I disagree, you're always very willing to try to understand the opposing opinion without being super judgmental and super aggressive and getting emotional, throwing ad hominems or whatever. You are a very fun person to, in quotes, debate with. I
think it's important, and I don't know who to credit this skill to in my life. I don't know if maybe my older brother or maybe my parents, but I've found that when you do truly listen to another person's opinion on something, especially if you disagree with it, and you listen to what they have to say and really take it in and think about what they're saying, a lot of times you'll find like nuggets of truths or arguments that you can't really counter. And at that point, it really takes some self-reflection. I don't think a lot of people self-reflect nowadays on, okay, hey, I was just talking with whoever about this. They brought up a good point and can admit that they brought up a good point and then say, how can I maybe utilize what they said in my life and the way I look at things now?
Yes.
Because if somebody brings up a good point and you can't counter it logically, in my mind, they've got something that you can utilize in your toolbox.
Yes.
And having the ability to admit that, like, hey, somebody I disagreed with had a good idea. I need to work this into my repertoire, I think is a skill that not many people have. And I think it goes a long way in life.
That's brilliant. Because here in Western civilization, for sure, at least recently, we're very focused on the extremes.
Yes.
So when you're on one extreme side of the perspective and you're not willing to hear the other side,
right,
then you're stuck in your own little bubble, and that's well known. Right. When you take the opportunity to actually genuinely listen without just waiting for your turn to talk to what the other person is saying, you do get those nuggets. And what you realize is there is no binary answer. It's not yes or no.
Right.
There's people with many different situations from yourself who very much are somewhere in the middle of the bell curve for whatever reason.
Right. And I think that having the skill to debate, I think, is also can help you in your just everyday life. So, for example, if you're trying to, persuade or convince your boss why you should get a raise, you need to be able to communicate why you can show them that you deserve a raise. And that's basically, it's not necessarily a debate or an argument, but it's you communicating your side and why they should agree with you, and give you that raise or whatnot. So even something small like that, it connects to if you have the ability to have a good debate with somebody, and like I said, I think it's a real lost skill in 2021.
Well, it is verbal martial arts, and one thing that comes with martial arts oftentimes is a feeling of confidence. And if you have that confidence going in, for example, speaking with your boss to try to get some more dough, then they're more likely going to be willing to provide that for you because a confident worker is a better worker.
Right. And I see this lost a lot, and I want to say and I hate to say the younger generation. I'm only 35, but I've worked with people who are younger than me. I've dated people younger than me and everything. And with technology and stuff, I feel like a lot of them have lost the ability to do face-to-face communication. Like it brings them anxiety, even if they're going to talk about something good, not even talking about a debate where they're going to disagree with somebody. Like even just agreeable conversation sometimes, I feel like for a lot of the younger millennial generation, because again, supposedly I'm a millennial, but I don't identify with that. But anyways, so like, a lot of them I've noticed they'd rather text you, or they'd rather use some kind of electronic technology to debate you. So they'll debate online because they're not seeing my face, they're not seeing the reaction it's caused, and they can debate and type a text about it. But the actual verbal face-to-face, I feel like that's a lot of people don't have that skill and are not honing that skill. So that's why I like good, healthy debate and always want to do it.
Well, it's that feeling of anonymity. I can never say that word.
Yeah.
Of being anonymous.
Yeah. Right.
It's fake. It's clearly artificial. They think that they're really just arguing with a robot. At some part in their head, or something in their head makes them believe that they're arguing with a robot. And even this right here, that what we're doing, this conversation, it's real to an extent, but yes, on a bell curve, there is some sort of fakeness to it. Like I said, this wall's fake.
Yep.
We're clearly not acting 100% ourselves because we're in front of a microphone.
Okay, right.
And a camera.
Sure.
As much as we try to be our genuine selves, there is something in us that is holding back strictly because we know that, there's a potential that billions of other people could be watching this.
And they may judge us, and they may have negative thoughts, and might have positive thoughts. Absolutely, for sure.
Oh, we're going to be canceled by the end of this episode anyway.
Sweet, yes. Hashtag canceled, first one. No, I'm just kidding. That's a lofty goal. If we can do that, I'll be impressed.
Well, I think in order to get canceled, you have to go viral, so I'd be okay with it.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Exactly. Right. We'd be viral at that point, so.
That's fun. Yes, I was trying to think of what to debate with you about. I was thinking this morning before our conversation how much I like just playing around when it comes to conversation. Like, let's play with scenarios. Let's do some hypotheticals. And I was thinking he likes to debate. Now, I don't have the proper sources or tools to really put up like a genuine debate where you do your point, I do a rebuttal,
sure.
then I do a point, and then you do a rebuttal,
right,
and then there's a judge there with a mallet or whatever.
Right. That's classic, like debate, debate class or whatever.
Yeah,
that's more structured debate. But yeah, no, I like just the back and forth, and I think another very crucial skill that's part of debate too is playing the devil's advocate role, trying to argue even if you don't actually agree with the opposite point. That just makes you sharper on like honing your logic and stuff. So I'll even do that sometimes. Like, and I'm sure you're aware, there are times where if I'm hearing somebody talk, I'll just interject with what I know is the exact opposite of like what they want to hear, even if I don't believe it, just to see like what's their like. How do you now handle somebody who just brought up the most outrageous like opposite? Do you flip out and let your emotions rise and you're like, oh, well, F you or whatever, you know what I mean, type of thing? Or do you stay calm and hear what I had to say and then, okay, well, here's, and go back and, stab at me and give me a counter or whatever. So that's even something I like to do, too, to rouse feathers. I mean, I've done that a lot just, like, even in college and stuff. I would, professors talking or whatnot, and I'll just say a devil's advocate counter to it just to see, and rouse the class and stuff. I just like that, getting people involved.
Well, what's really important about that, too, is it's activating the creative portion of your brain.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure you've done this. I'm pretty sure everybody does this. You are having an argument with someone in your head. A simulation is playing.
Yep.
And you are creating this character that is somewhat based off of this real-life human being that you've met in the past and said something you didn't like. And you're having this back and forth with them. But they're saying everything that you want them to say, just so that you can come back with the perfect one-liner or whatever and throw it in their face. That's not how real-life conversation works. That's you playing, again, on one extreme of the bell curve.
Yeah. Well, and I think, I know because you had brought up, like, I was thinking of topics to debate. And, you and I agree on a lot of things. We have a lot of similar views. So sometimes it is difficult, like, to think of a topic to debate just because we do agree on a lot of stuff. So it'd be like, oh, well, yeah, I kind of agree with you on that, type of thing and everything. So
we haven't argued about anything yet.
No, not yet. There's still plenty of time.
Yes.
No, but yeah, no, I mean, I think because, we were talking a little bit before the podcast about some of the books like, you have read and are reading and stuff. And we were talking about like the pickup artist and everything and kind of like what that looks like and what's that kind of evolved to. And I kind of like that topic of, is because some people view pickup artistry as, I don't know the way or sentence to describe it, as like disgusting and it's
misogynistic.
Yes,
negative.
There you go. It's vile. It's misogynistic, right? Because you're just using all these techniques or lines or whatever to quote unquote like trick somebody into liking you and then sleeping with you, or or whatnot. And I tend to disagree with that, outlook. That people think, oh, the pickup artist is disgusting or whatnot, or misogynistic type of thing. Because in my opinion, let's be honest, I feel like women do the exact same thing. They just don't call themselves like a pickup artist.
Yeah,
right? There's women out there. There's women out there who do that every night. We're just not considered like pickup artists.
Yeah. Now, I think it is worth saying that there are some scumbag, douchebag assholes out there
for sure.
really do just try to acquire all of the tools that they possibly can just to try to get a little bit of poo-tang that night.
Right, yeah, that's pretty messed up. Yeah, that's true.
And yes, there are some obviously negatives to that, and they have clearly some sort of relationship issues with themselves. But acquiring certain tools to help you with any, I don't know, calling it a hobby sounds dirty, but with any kind of hobby,
sure,
it is going to be beneficial. If you like to play soccer, for example,
yep.
Getting better at nailing a kick right into the corner of the goal is going to be super beneficial during a game, or being able to block a ball, in the lower left, or whatever,
right, yep.
whatever it is.
Yep.
Those are all little skills and tools, and there are certain practices that you can do in order to get better at that. You can do more lateral movement,
exactly.
more hip stretches or exercises, whatever applies to whatever hobby it is, in quotes.
Right.
Well, dating when you're single in a monogamous society is kind of a hobby.
Yeah, sure.
You're kind of playing around with this idea of experimenting with different personalities, different
right.
relationships,
social interactions, right? Yep.
Yeah, different genders, different heights, different races, whatever it is.
Yep.
And acquiring such tools like being able to speak more confidently,
yep.
being more confident with yourself and your image, recognizing that you have flaws and owning those flaws. Those are three tools that I'm sure anybody out there would admit
right.
are great, wonderful qualities to have as a human being. And
right.
a lot of pickup artistry is mainly about that kind of stuff, is just becoming a better person and feeling better about yourself,
right.
so that you have the confidence to be able to go up to the opposite, well, maybe not the opposite gender, but someone that you're attracted to,
right.
and admit that you are attracted to them.
Right, yep, yeah. Yeah, and I mean, you said it, I think you nailed it right on the head. I mean, it's just the confidence and, again, the techniques and tips you can take away from something like that, you're right, can give you a lot of confidence. Now, excuse me, having an older brother, I was a little bit fortunate because, growing up, I was able to kind of like talk with him, and he would give me a little bit of confidence tips when it comes to talking to the girls and things of that nature. So, like, that was helpful for me. That helped me build a little bit of confidence. I had a quote-unquote resource there to lean on. But you're right, there's many people who don't have that, and so they don't ever really have anybody to kind of teach them the quote-unquote pickup artist skills or techniques to get that confidence and to build, like you said, to learn to know what are your flaws, and how to not be ashamed of them, but, don't have them be blaring, out there and things of that nature. So, yeah, I agree. I think that a lot of people fail to see that in the pickup artistry sense that, okay, yes, maybe you don't have to follow it to the T 110%, but I can take some skills to help me be more confident. Like I said, even just in social interactions. Let's say you're not even really trying to talk to somebody you like. I think it can just help you in talking to people more.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Just at your job or whatever. It just, like I said, makes you more confident. It's a very positive thing that can happen to people. So it's just interesting that we were talking before the podcast about, what that looks like and how people view it, nowadays and stuff. So
now, before we get canceled for being a misogynistic assholes, the book that you're specifically talking about is called The Game by Neil Strauss, and it's actually kind of fictional a little bit, but it's based off of his real experiences that he had when he was introduced to the pickup artist, I don't know, clan or whatever.
Right, yeah.
Calling it a clan sounds horrible.
The tribe.
When he was introduced to that group of people, and he was introduced because, from what I remember, he was either asked to write a story about it, or he was asked by his publisher to write a story about it.
Okay.
So he was kind of introduced through occupation. And
is he a journalist? Like, is that? I mean, that what he
Yes.
is? Okay, so he's a journalist
Yes.
by trade. Okay.
And after being introduced to it, he ended up learning a lot, obviously, as you should, being a journalist, and ended up becoming one of the greatest pickup artists ever during that time.
Unintentionally. So he was just like, oh, I'm going to write a story.
Yeah.
And then was like, happened to just get so deep in it. He got so balls deep, excuse me, that he ended up being the greatest pickup artist. What a story. Good for him.
And it's actually genuinely a really good, like, heroes type journey of unconfident, nerdy, bald, short, scrawny, young man who doesn't have any confidence with women, who ends up becoming, the world's greatest pickup artist.
Just from hanging around these people and kind of talking to them and writing their story and stuff. Wow, that's fascinating. That's pretty cool.
And there's like young Britney Spears in there. He interviews young Britney Spears, and then he talks to Courtney Love. Because he's a journalist, so he's doing all sorts of communicating with all sorts of different people. It's a very fascinating story, and there is a climax at the end. Not to spoil it or anything, but everything is building up to a point, and then at the end, it's like, oh wow, this whole thing falls apart.
It sounds like there might be several climaxes at the end. Don't worry, the jokes will get better, I promise. But yeah, okay, yeah, and I guess the reason I wanted to bring that up is, to people to realize sometimes if you want to grow your mind and you're maybe looking at books on the shelf or whatnot, and you see a book like that, or don't be afraid to step outside your comfort zone. Is what I'm trying to say. Or if maybe something you disagree with, give the book a shot and see what it's about, or the topic a shot and see what it's about, and then, decide for yourself.
No, it's beautiful, and that's the whole reason I wanted to go over that the description of the story, is because I didn't want people thinking that it is a book that's like, step 1, be a dick.
Good point.
Step 2, be even more of a dick.
Exactly, right.
Kind of thing.
Right, yeah, no, I gotcha.
So
I gotcha.
There is actually sustenance to the story. But, yeah, it's a very good book, and I personally want my daughters to read it, both of my daughters to read it, just so they can kind of see that devil's advocate or the other side.
Right. That's a good point. I didn't think about that. That's kind of interesting. That's
the only reason I'm saving it on my shelf.
Right, I gotcha. I think the last time, like when you were first kind of setting up the podcast and getting it all figured out, I know one of the debates we had about was the way you and your family, their sleeping habits, right? I think we talked about that before. That was a good topic, to debate. 'Cause I'm trying to think of just other issues where we tend to maybe disagree and part ways, and whatnot. I mean, I know, like, for example, you and I have very similar lifestyles when it comes to eating and our diet. Like, we both believe in intermittent fasting. We both believe in the power of that. I probably take it a little bit too far sometimes, because I'm usually only eating one big meal a day. Whether that's the most healthy or not, that's what I found my body responds best to and stuff, and whatnot. So I don't know if you do the same or when you're intermittent fasting and everything. But I'm trying to think of topics and areas that would be good for debate that we might disagree on.
I have an idea if you're interested. But when it comes to health and stuff, just to not segue too far from that real quick, when it comes to health and dieting and exercise, I think you made a really good point. It's really whatever you feel your body responds to best. If I say an all peanut diet is great, well, that's not going to obviously be great for someone who has a peanut allergy.
Right.
So it's such an intimate personal choice to be able to putting something in your mouth, chewing it up and swallowing it is such an intimate personal choice.
Right.
And so for me to tell somebody that it's better for you to not put that in your mouth and put this in your mouth is kind of a dick move, even though there might be some validity to it.
Even if that person is is on My 600-Pound Life and is putting cheeseburgers and donuts in their mouth, you think it would be still a dick move to say, hey, you probably shouldn't be putting cheeseburgers and donuts in your mouth at the frequency that you're doing it.
Now we jumped to extremes again.
Okay, good point.
We're at the very end of the bell curve on that situation. Of course, somebody needs. I mean, more than likely, that person knows that what they're doing is not
they
healthy.
Should, hopefully.
So just saying it is just kind of throwing another.
So you think bringing up extremes take away from the? I guess my question to you would be why is bringing up the extremes? Is that a problem to bring up the extremes? Do you think it doesn't add to the debate? Extremes.
I love jumping to extremes.
Oh, okay.
In that specific situation, speaking with a 600-pound man, I'm obviously going to be like, yeah, maybe we could try to find some sort of way for you to start trying to burn a little bit more calories than you're taking in, because that's really what it comes down to if you want to lose weight.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
But let's look at the middle of the bell curve. Let's talk about someone who's maybe 10, 15, 20 pounds overweight.
Okay.
And overweight is, we don't really know what that exactly means. Like if they're a sumo wrestler,
right.
then they're doing the right thing if they're overweight.
Sure.
But let's talk about someone who probably considers themselves 10 pounds overweight. If they're
10 pounds?
Yeah, let's just say 10 pounds.
Okay.
If they're dieting and exercising and they're working out 5 days a week for, let's say, 3 weeks.
Okay.
If they wanted to put some cake or some donuts in their mouth one day as a break,
absolutely,
that's a completely different situation.
Yes.
So those are the kind of scenarios that I like.
Gotcha.
Where it's not a clear extreme where obviously there is kind of a binary answer. It's more like they earned this right to be able to express their intake freedom and put whatever it is that they want in their mouth, just to kind of give them a little bit of mental satisfaction and motivation to continue on with whatever it is that they're currently doing in order to try to improve their situation.
Even with this example you gave, I would still feel personally okay being hey, because let's say I don't really know that person's lifestyle or habit. I mean, if you know when you see them what they're doing, what you just described, then yeah, you would know, okay, they're just taking a break and having some donuts for one day or whatever. But if I don't know, maybe I just see them eating like that one day, I would still feel okay being hey, have you ever tried organic broccoli or what, or whatever, just to, and if they're oh yeah, this is my cheat meal day, oh okay, that makes sense, gotcha, type of thing. I still, I guess, wouldn't feel bad approach them and just, maybe suggesting or saying, hey, I recommend maybe eating some other stuff. So then let me ask you this, since we're talking about, because this is a question that's come up a lot in my personal life when it comes to health and fitness and dating and having your significant other, let's say. Let's say you felt your significant other was gaining a little bit of weight, 10, 15 pounds, okay?
Here's where we get canceled.
Yes. How would you, because I've had this discussion with several friends. How would you tell your significant other or your life partner, hey, you need to start working out or eating better? Let's not even say eating, but let's just say working out. Hey, you're getting a little chunky. Let's, because I want to hear what you have to say, and then I'll tell you what I've come up with after having this discussion so many times with people, what I've developed. So I'm curious how you would answer it.
I like this. In the hypothetical situation that your sister, my significant other, Kristen, is gaining weight, first of all, I don't really see that scenario because she has a degree in exercise science and a minor in nutrition.
Yeah, we gotta let go, suspend reality a little bit.
And we're both super addicted to working out.
For sure.
Okay, let's say that she is gaining weight, which is common. I'd be like, babe, why are you getting so fucking fat? And she'd be like, I'm pregnant. No, just kidding. Let's say that she is gaining weight. The way that I would personally approach it is, rather than using the word you, that horrible pronoun that is automatically accusatory, this is your fault, I would try to approach it with this. Some sort of scenario like this. Now, you have to apply it to yourself, of course. Hey, how would you feel about going to jiu-jitsu class with me on Saturday? Or how would you feel about just taking a walk with me?
Yeah, perfect.
And we can chat about stuff, and we'll enjoy the sunshine. And it's that small minor step in the direction of improving one's lifestyle in a healthier way.
Yes, no, I agree. It's almost identical to my answer. Is whenever whether it's a male or female who asks me this, how would you answer this question? I would just say, hey, why don't we go for a run? Why don't we do a Ragnar relay race? That might be a little challenging for those people that don't know. A Ragnar race is a really long
Yeah.
race with a team of people. Everybody takes a section of the mileage or whatnot. So it's maybe a little bit extreme, but some kind of fun physical challenge, if you will, that could get them to not even maybe realize they're exercising is kind of the answer that I came up with. So very, very similar to you. I agree to be like, hey, let's do this thing together, or why don't we try cooking more of our meals and like making them healthier or whatever. Yeah, right. Just something to bring up like that. So I like your answer because not many people know how to answer that question. When you pose that question to people, a lot of times it's like, oh man, I'm not sure. I got to think about this. Like they got to take a while to really think about how to structure their answer, which they should. Not something you should answer right away, but yeah, I mean it's a really good question I like posing to people. It's like, hey, you're married or you've been dating this guy or girl for a long time. What would you do in this scenario? And because it's health and diet and everything.
It's tricky too because what I've noticed is in most cases, two people that are truly in love, they obviously have their arguments and their squabbles back and forth on occasion. But two people that are truly in love and they want to spend the rest of their life together, they end up getting comfortable together. And what I mean by getting comfortable is not comfortable with each other, but comfortable with their surroundings. They like to sit on the couch and watch Netflix together.
Yes.
So if one starts gaining more weight at a faster pace than the other because even though they're both doing those things, and the other one starts to get accusatory and aggressive, maybe not aggressive, but they start blaming the other person for gaining weight, it's like it's your fault too. So with Kristen and I's scenario, it works really well because she loves jiu-jitsu. I love jiu-jitsu. We met playing indoor sand volleyball with a couple buddies that we were on other teams with. She was on a hockey team, indoor hockey team with some of the people that I played flag football with, and that's how we met. Like our whole life was based around this idea of sports, and she's a national champion in women's lacrosse in her junior college. Right. Like we have this background of being athletic and active. Right, being active, yeah. And we like that, and we keep that in our lives, even though having 3 kids is really difficult. We embrace the grind. Right, yeah. And we stick with it. We're consistent. We're not going as much as we would like to our jiu-jitsu practices, but I'm going twice a week. She is usually going about twice a week, maybe 3 sometimes. And we're doing our best to maintain. We also don't have, like you said earlier, we were talking about our sleeping arrangements. We don't have a bed. We don't have a couch. We don't have these things that have this natural gravity to them that want to pull you in and suck you in and keep you comfortable. Right, yeah, exactly. And it's because we know that those things make you sedentary. Right, yeah. Or at least certainly. Can lead to it, right, absolutely. Make it easier to become sedentary. Yes, it doesn't help you with the willpower of not becoming sedentary. No, yeah, very good point. So now wait, you brought up a point about jiu-jitsu. So did you wrestle growing up? Or like, how did you get into jiu-jitsu? Did you wrestle growing up? I wrestled from 8th grade until my junior year. I didn't. Oh, okay. So you had some of that wrestling experience. That kind of. I was just curious how you kind of fell into jiu-jitsu. If you didn't have wrestling experience, but I guess you did. I've been listening to Joe Rogan since 2012, and he's always talked up how great jiu-jitsu was as not only a form of self-defense, but because it is a great form of self-defense, absolutely. But just everything that he had to say about it. Very much got me attracted to the idea of eventually starting jiu-jitsu. And so I have been wanting to do jiu-jitsu since 2012. Oh, okay. But I didn't have that confidence or that courage to step into a gym alone until about 2015. And I didn't do it alone. I went with friends. Right. Yeah. Oh, so interesting. That's 3 years. That's at least a blue belt right there. What was holding you back from going to a gym solo? I'm just curious. Like, most of it is, just life. Like, okay. I'm working. I'm working right now. I don't have the time. Oh, okay. I'm sleeping in the mornings because I'm depressed. Well, I thought you said it was a confidence issue. That you were like, you weren't. I thought you said you were like, you didn't have the confidence to go to the gym by yourself. Well, yeah. I'm sure that was a major part of it. I was sleeping in until like 11 or noon almost every day in my very, very, very comfortable, expensive bed. Right. And I felt depressed. I felt horrible. I felt lonely. Right. And then a couple coworkers, they were talking together, them too, about going to jiu-jitsu. And I overheard the conversation. Okay. And I told them, I'm going with you. Oh, nice. So, okay, gotcha. Sometimes just having that camaraderie, or like the situation with two people that are deeply in love, just having that little bit of help to make those
Yes.
first steps
Yes.
to get your white belt and admit that, we're not perfect and we're never going to be perfect. But as long as we keep striving for mastery and perfection, we'll get close enough that we'll feel really good about ourselves. We'll feel
Right.
much better than the current person we currently are.
Yeah. I got you. Yeah, I just never, I never had heard how you got into jiu-jitsu. That's why I was curious.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't sure if you had wrestling experience or not and everything. So that's why I asked.
I actually wanted to speak with you about jiu-jitsu anyway, because one of my proudest moments in my entire life was the day that you competed.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
In a jiu-jitsu tournament.
Yeah. Yeah.
Without, I want to say without pretty much any training, right?
Right. I just had my wrestling experience. You know, I had wrestled a little
Good
bit in
point.
middle school and then all through high school and stuff. And yeah, I just, I just knew that would come very in handy. I knew, hey, if you could just you personally show me a couple moves and here's some things you want to keep in mind when it comes to like your body. I mean, like I knew I could just with those couple little basic things in the back of my mind. I feel like I could have held my own and everything. And yeah, that was a great experience. Like I'm eternally grateful for you for like inviting me. Like, hey man, I think this would be something fun because I didn't know about these until you sent the information over and everything. So I'm so grateful because I had a blast and that was a great experience when I did that and everything. Because you're right, I didn't really know anything about jiu-jitsu. I didn't know even truly fully all the rules.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember asking, like, is this legal? Can I do this? Like, are they going to disqualify me if I do this? I remember asking you all these questions about it and everything. And yeah, it was a great time. Even though, I didn't get first. I always strive for first. But, at that point, I was just going in to have a good time and whatnot. But yeah, it was a great experience, man. And I recommend more people do it. Even if you don't, yes, it seems a little scary because it's wrestling, it's physical or whatever. Promise you, the chances of you getting hurt are very, very slim. Even if you don't have any experience and you just want to try something new and exciting, try some jiu-jitsu, man. Like, take something like that. But yeah, man, that was a great tournament that I did. And I like I said, I'm forever grateful for you for sending me that stuff.
Well, dude, I'm super proud of how well you did in the tournament. But before I get to that, I just want to say, yes, jiu-jitsu is called the gentle art for a reason. The chances of you getting hurt are very, very slim as long as you're rolling with someone who's experienced.
Right.
And yes, I truly believe that it is almost for everybody. Again, when you look at the extremes.
Yeah. By the way, do you remember my attire? What I wore to my matches?
No,
that
I'm
day?
sure it was something ridiculous.
No, well, because listen, so like I've watched UFC and obviously stuff like throughout the years or whatever, and I didn't own any kind of like jiu-jitsu gear, so I didn't have a rash guard and like I don't know what you call the shorts or the jiu-jitsu shorts.
The no-gi shorts.
Okay, the no-gi shorts, right. Because I was doing no-gi at this tournament. I guess we should have made that clear, right? I was doing no-gi, so I didn't have a rash guard or anything. But I had seen the UFC when they wear those kind of tight, pants, that look like, a spandex or whatever. And so I, I own a couple of pairs of like boxer briefs that are like that. So I'm like, okay, you know what? Like worst case scenario, I'm just gonna go out in those and a t-shirt. Or I know I was gonna do a long sleeve. I was like, I'll just go out in those and a long sleeve Under Armour. And I remember, like, I was dating a girl at the time when this tournament was going on, and so like I showed up and like I remember I'm wearing like I don't know Adidas boxer briefs, warming up, and like I could tell people are like staring at me like, what is this weirdo doing? Like he's in his underwear warming up. And I remember you tried to give me actually, you're like, hey man, why don't you wear these like jiu-jitsu shorts? And I tried them on. I was like, nah, they don't look cool. I don't look cool. I gotta change. I look cooler with my underwear on. And so I literally went in my matches that entire day in Adidas boxer briefs and just a long sleeve Under Armour.
That is funny.
So I'm wrestling, and there other guys are in rash guards and stuff, like name brand gear, and I'm going out there. And so I will never forget that because everybody like was telling me like, hey man, you might want to wear these type of shorts next time. So I just wasn't sure if you remember that because I went out there in my underwear.
I don't. My memory is so fuzzy. That was a few years ago.
Yeah, it was.
I just remember you did really, really well. And to be honest, man, I think I actually blame myself for your loss. I can't remember. I know you won the first one. Did you win?
I won the second one, so I won my first two.
Okay.
I won my first two by points, and then I lost all the other ones after that.
Okay.
And both times, so when I lost, the What I kept doing, I remember, is the kid caught me, and I forget the move. He was putting my arm back behind here and trying to. He was putting my arm back behind me, trying to crank it like this.
Yeah, he was doing a Kimura.
Kimura, that's what it was. And I could feel he was getting ready to get it, so I just tapped. I was like, I'm not trying to have any pain. I was like, he got me, so I tapped.
Yeah.
And so and then the second match that I lost, we were going for a little bit, and he caught me in some move too. I forget, it wasn't a Kimura because it was a little bit different, but I could feel he was getting me. I didn't know how to get out, so I was like, just tap again. I was like, I'm not taking any chance. And I just tapped again. So, but yeah, it was great, man. I loved it. Loved it.
I love that you're willing to admit that because you're a competitive person. I don't think you're afraid to admit that.
Extremely competitive.
And for a competitive person to be willing to, tap out to an armbar or a Kimura or whatever.
Yeah.
Even when it may not be at the point where you're feeling pain, you're just kind of worried about yourself. Like that is an amazing quality to have in the sport of jiu-jitsu because most people will suffer through the pain for, whatever reason, hoping that they're able to either have the time run out or get a better position somehow.
Right.
And they end up being injured because of that. Like I've seen matches where a dude has genuinely sacrificed his knee to win a match. He was going for a rear naked choke while somebody had him in some kind of knee bar, and his knee broke. His leg was bent in the opposite direction, 90 degrees, while he's getting a rear naked choke.
Is there money on the line for this if he wins?
See, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know why somebody Would one of the most important limbs that
right.
people gifted with the ability to walk have.
Right.
But he got the rear naked choke even though his leg was broken. So what I'm wondering is if there was a promotion on the line, like if he wins this match, he'll get his brown belt, or whatever.
Gotcha.
Whatever it was.
Right.
Either way, that is a stupid decision. Just tap. So that's one thing that I really respect about you.
Right, and and you're right. In being hyper competitive, even just admitting that I lost sometimes is difficult, or has been difficult growing up. Because I've always been naturally competitive and everything, and so. You're right. Just having that skill for an ultra competitive person to say, "Hey, I didn't win this time," can be difficult too. And on that same point you brought up about that guy, trying to get the choke even though his knee was broken. Some people would say maybe, "Hey, what's wrong with you love your sport so much, or that you believe in yourself so much that you're never going to give up?" I mean, what I'm saying? In any kind of situation, like, how do you maybe counter that of people saying, "Well, hey, that guy showed like guts and glory that he's never going to give up, like in the hardest of times in his life or whatever." How do you maybe approach that if somebody says, "Well, I think that guy was very noble to continue to go even though his knee was broke"?
I mean, there's clearly some sort of wonderful thing in his head that keeps him going, for sure.
Yep.
But I guess my argument would be it's stupid because if you truly love the sport and you truly love training, unless it's a real life or death situation, you just sacrifice the next 6 months of training at least.
Good point.
You're not going to be able to participate in your sport for the next 6 months. The cool thing about jiu-jitsu is we can slap, bump, roll around. You get me in some sort of submission, I tap, and then we do it again immediately after. Right. He's not going to roll again right after that.
Yeah,
He's done for.
Yeah, absolutely.
His knee is shot. And that's my argument.
Right.
Now, yes, if it was a life or death situation, he did the right thing.
Right. No, of course.
But it's a tournament. It's clearly not even anywhere close to life or death.
Right.
Like the whole point of the sport is to just admit defeat. And if he were smart, because he's clearly smart in certain ways, but
right.
if he were to have done the right thing, it would have been escape the submission that he was in first, then get the advantageous position in order to get a submission himself.
Right.
That's kind of like the tricky thing about jiu-jitsu is like when I go up a rung, you go down a rung. When I'm in side control, you're in the bottom of side control. When I'm in mount, you're in the bottom of mount. When I'm on your back, you're in the bottom of back. And so it's always this constant like we're in opposite directions, and when we're in guard, we're kind of even.
Right. Because there's people out there who are like, oh, like that's the greatest mind discipline, type of thing. Like, how far can you push yourself to keep going? Some people look at it like that, and I tend to agree with you that, well, now you can't do it for 6 months. Like, like again, like for soccer, if that's my sport that I love is like, so sometimes it's difficult for me because I get injured playing sometimes here and there, and I want to go back that next game, even though I should rest my ankle. And I've gotten better at knowing, like, listen, man, like, miss that next game and rest up and take care of yourself so that you can get back out there for the next 6. So now I'm trying to play injured, and then maybe I injured a little bit more. Just it makes that injury nagging and stuff. So I tend to agree with you of that, the discipline in mind. But I know there's people out there that'll say, well, that guy's a stud because he was able to mind over matter, if you will, and continue through. It reminds me, I forget what book it was in. It was a history book I was reading about the Spartan culture, and so like, one of the things they would do for discipline and pushing themselves, and it actually ended up killing a lot of them, is they would have to run a marathon with a gulp of water in their mouth the entire time, but couldn't swallow it till they finished. And if you swallowed it during the run, you were like beaten or disciplined or whatever, and you had to do it again. Next month or whatever, when that came up again.
A full marathon?
A full marathon. So 26.2 miles with a gulp of water in your mouth and not swallow it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's kind of that discipline that some people say, that kind of ability of mind over matter, even though, yes, that guy broke his leg, he has that
he won
really
the
good
match.
Skill. He won the mental match.
In my opinion, man, that wouldn't, like, there are matches that I've won that I'm kind of proud of, even though I could look back and say, oh, I could have done that way better.
Right.
That would not be a match that I would be proud of.
Right. No, again, I tend to agree with you. Right. Like, just give it up, bro. Live to fight another day type of thing. So, but yeah, man, I mean, it's very interesting. I think nowadays, how many people are afraid to take a chance, like what I did, of like not knowing any jiu-jitsu and just going out there and giving it your all, and whatever happens, happens.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like our society nowadays, a lot of people struggle with anxiety when it comes to new things or doing things outside of their box or what they're used to, what they're comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that's one of the big driving forces for me. Why, like, I like trying things out, jiu-jitsu or whatever, something I've never done before. I like doing that, getting outside of my comfort zone and learning things about myself. And I feel like it's one of the things that people don't do enough in America, is get outside their comfort zone and try things like that.
The United States specifically.
Yes.
America's huge.
Yes, the United States specifically.
Yeah, I completely agree. And just real quick, I wanted to say that I actually do feel some guilt about one of your losses. I can't remember if it was either both of the second losses or because I was coaching you, because you weren't even part of a gym.
I know, right? Yeah,
What did you sign your gym?
So I wrote, right? Oh, that's right. Because for the application, you had to put down, like, what's the name of your gym, and I put down like McConnell BJJ or something like that.
It was like Be Nasty. You like did something like Be Nasty or something like that.
Or I forget what it was.
Be Nasty BJJ or something.
Yeah. I forget what it was because my nickname's Nasty Nate. So I think I might have put like, you're right. I might have did Nasty Nate's BJJ gym or something like that. Yeah. But yeah, I remember because I had to make something up. Because it was a required field online. It wouldn't let you proceed forward.
Yeah.
Unless you put in like a gym affiliation.
Yeah.
So like, okay, yeah, Nasty Nate's gym. Right. Yeah, man.
But anyway, so I was coaching you, and I was. I don't know, I was either a blue belt or just got my purple belt at the time. And so clearly I don't know very much. But I just kept telling you to go.
Okay.
When part of jiu-jitsu is relaxation and taking time to breathe. And like
Gotcha.
I was just so pumped with seeing you go from like mount to the back to losing the back to getting mount again.
Yep.
It was just so cool seeing you rack up all these points. You won your first match 22-2 or something like that.
I forget what it was.
It was some crazy high number above 20 to a very low single-digit number.
Yeah, it was something like that.
And it was just so exciting watching you do this, but I forgot that you're mortal and you only have a certain amount of energy reserve. And so
I'm mortal right now. I'm looking to ascend, but no, no, keep going.
So I should have been more aware of that as a coach, and I should have been more like just settle into mount and just hold him there. And like if you get called installing, whatever.
Right. We also had like, only a few, only, like half hour before my match for you to like teach me jiu-jitsu, so like you did pretty good, for considering the circumstances.
Well, I appreciate it, but I do feel a little guilty about that just because I could have helped you maybe relax a little bit more and saved your energy for future matches rather than winning by 800% or whatever it was that you won.
Well, next tournament, Mickey, all right, make sure you train me well with the chicken, all right? I'll be ready next time.
You got it, bro. I was actually thinking like for your going away gift rather than getting you hot sauce, I was thinking about getting you a jiu-jitsu membership around the area, a 1 month jiu-jitsu membership.
Okay.
But I didn't know with you just moving there and being busy, and I didn't know if it'd just sit on your fridge or if you'd actually be interested in that. Even.
Oh no, I'd probably take it up, but I mean, just the thought obviously is very nice. So thank you. But like, yeah, I would definitely do it. You're right. I'd probably have to figure out just kind of my work-life balance first to see how that looks like or whatnot. But yeah, no, I would definitely be interested in something like that. It's just. My thing was it was kind of like what you were talking about earlier. Like just sometimes I feel like, man, with work and stuff, I don't have the quote unquote like the time or whatever. But no, I would make time to do it.
That's
because
great to hear.
I loved wrestling. Again, I liked the jiu-jitsu. I do. It's just I'm kind of in that mental trap right now. If telling myself I don't have the time with this new job and position, so I'm trying to figure it out or whatever.
Well, your situation is kind of different too because you're basically starting over with this. Like you're going to a new place. It's the same job but a new job technically. You may know your coworkers, but you don't know many people down there. Like, you're starting over socially. You're starting over financially. You're starting over career wise. It's all new for you. So throwing jiu-jitsu into the mix at that point in time would be like me telling you to do better at your job while you're also doing an extreme diet and trying to lose the 400 excess pounds that you have or whatever.
Right. Yeah, no,
so
totally.
it might be a little overwhelming. So I thought the hot sauce would suffice.
No, trust me. Hey, great gift. I love it. So it will not go to waste.
Plus, it fits more in my budget, which is actually what I wanted to speak with you about is you nearly doubled your salary with this job. And we don't have to throw numbers out there. I don't want you to talk about anything you don't feel comfortable talking about. But with that much of a raise that I know that you've gotten with your promotion and your willingness to move to a different state, I truly feel like you could pay off your debt very, very quickly.
Yeah, hopefully that's kind of the plan. Was my mindset, kind of like you said, when I got this new promotion and everything of like, because I've never been in a position where I've truly felt financially stable. And to be honest, and this is probably kind of harsh and maybe sad to some people or whatever, it's been one of the reasons why I haven't even really truly started like a family yet. There's other reasons too, obviously. I haven't met the person that is worth starting a family for, but even if I had met that person that I'm ready to start my life with and have a family with, I would be very hesitant to move forward and do that because I didn't feel financially stable.
Yeah.
And it's something that's weighed very heavy on my like heart and mind and stuff, especially at the age of like 35, because I feel like in the United States, we are bombarded with this message of, okay, like you're going to go do your 12 years of traditional school, like after high school, then you need to go to college, and after you go to college, you get this job a corporate job where you work your way up the ladder, and then so by 28 and 30 you should be having kids now because now you're successful in your career, and so all this stuff. And so I felt that kind of like pressure, like, oh, I'm not following the United States like agenda and what everybody's supposed to do, the quote unquote American dream. I wasn't a part of that, and so I'm, a failure in life now.
Yeah,
is kind of how I was feeling, type of thing. It took me a while to get over that and learn that that's not how you need to look at your life and things of that nature and whatnot. But yes, it's the first time that I've now felt financially stable and can budget to pay off my debt. Now I don't have a ton of debt. Most of that I have is student loan debt.
Yeah,
so like. I don't have tons of other like debt, but just paying that off would be such a burden lifted from me that yes, that is one of the things that I plan to do, and it's interesting to now feel this, financial stability a little bit, now that I've got this promotion.
Oh, it's got to be. And yes, just like you said, when Kristen first told me that she was pregnant with our son, I had that moment of freak out. It is very scary. Finances are a big part of life, whether you're super capitalistic or super communistic. Like there's a big section of everybody's life and everybody's brain power that is being put towards finances, whether they want to admit it or not.
Yep.
And it's a big struggle. It's a fun game to play once you do start getting a little bit of income and you do start paying off the debt and slaying the debt dragon that I call it. It is a fun game to play, but again, it's kind of like ignorance. Like I didn't know anything about money when she got pregnant. I didn't know anything about investing. I didn't have a savings account. I had like 10,000 in savings. That was like, how long would that last?
I would have loved to have had 10,000 in savings, dude. So good for you. Good for you.
One thing that I really respect about you is you don't have a credit card.
Correct. I don't have a single credit card.
So you're smart. Obviously you're smart. I'm throwing that out there. You're financially smart.
Thanks, Brian. No, I'm just
You know what you're doing. It's just tough because, like you said, we followed this formula that was given to us. We went to school, even though we may not have necessarily wanted to. I'm speaking for a lot of people there. I wanted to go to the school that I wanted to go to. But we ended up getting a whole bunch of debt out of it. I got $100K in debt. Your sister got close to that.
Yep. I got a little bit over that.
Okay. Yeah. A lot of people just they're young and they get talked into doing these things that may not necessarily be the best choice for them, and then they're saddled with this horrible debt that ends up costing them $300 to $600 a month.
Yeah, and
that's if you're lucky.
Correct. That's a conservative number.
Yeah, and most of that goes towards interest.
Yeah.
For the first how many ever years.
Right.
So I'm really proud of you, man. And
well, don't be too proud of me, because that might be maybe the one good financial choice that I've made in my life. I've made other bad financial choices. So don't give me, I'm just saying for the people out there, don't give me too much credit. Just because, so for example, here's a flaw of mine. We've talked about flaws and being able to self-reflect here on this podcast. I am not smart with money in the sense that, like, when I have whatever my bills are, they're due on the 1st or the 15th, whatever, you have due dates. I'm not good at either paying on the due date or before. My whole belief, and again, I know this is, a lot of people say that's so stupid, but my belief is that if I pay you in the month, whenever my payment is due, we're in the month of March right now, okay? I have from March 1st to March 31st to get you that car loan payment, or to get you that cell phone bill paid, or to get you that HBO Max subscription or whatever. If I pay you, let's say my due date is the 15th. You're telling me if I pay you on the 16th, you're going to go out of business? You, Visa, are going to not be able to conduct your banking business if I pay you 1 day late, 5 days late, 1 day early? You know what I mean? And I know there's people out there probably screaming right now, like, you're an idiot, you don't know how the system works. And maybe that's true, but I'm sorry. Like in 2021, with the amount of wealth and things in the world and whatnot, the way that when you don't pay by the due dates, the way that dramatically affects your sometimes ability to live as a human and whatnot in society, because now your credit score gets tanked, and now you have an ultra high, annual percentage when you're trying to get a house or a car loan now, because
there's fees attached to it.
Right, exactly. Just because you were 2 or 3 days late. And so the way I look at it is like, listen, I'm going to pay you when I have the ability to pay you comfortably, to where I'm not picking, hey, do I want to buy groceries this week or do I want to pay my Comcast bill?
I know that's always a tough decision, especially as a parent. Like, are my kids going to eat, or are they going to be warm?
Exactly. So it's like, well, no, I'm going to, or again, do I want to have this life experience and go pay to be in a jiu-jitsu tournament with my friends and family? Because, there's a cost to enter that jiu-jitsu tournament. It's not free.
Yeah.
Now it's not a huge cost.
There's a cost to everything.
Right. It's not a huge cost, but still, that's $40 for my gas tank or whatever to be able to get to work or whatnot. So yes, there have been times in my life where I'm sorry, I'm going to choose purposefully to not pay this due date of this bill because my life and mental health is way more important to me. So yes, I'm willing to incur a fee from you. I'm willing to let my credit score dip a little bit or whatever, because I believe that, yes, I'm going to pay you when I can comfortably do it.
Now, I don't think that's stupid at all. But I want to go back to, before I talk about that real quick, I want to go back to about how I'm proud of you. I truly am proud of you. I think you're a very hard worker. You're a super intelligent guy. You're super nice. And just like you said, you choose life experiences which are sometimes sacrificial to your future self, strictly to help others and seek enjoyment. I respect all of that. I think that is great. And
thank you. By the way, I want to say, can you next time tell all of my exes all those good qualities next time before we break up? I'd really appreciate it, because it might save some relationships. Just putting that out there. But anyways,
for sure.
Keep going.
But now I want to rebuttal what you said, or I want to pose my understanding of where I'm at, because I truly have had a lot of the same opinions about money as you have had, or as you currently do. Now, I see that that's stupid. Like, if we were friends and I lent you some money and you were like, hey, dude, I can't get you back on the 15th, but I can get you back, in a couple days. If we're really good friends, like, yeah, whatever. It doesn't fucking matter. But when it comes to these subscriptions, and like you said, the cell phone, the Comcast,
card note,
yeah, whatever, all of those are in the past. So I guess what I mean by that is, if you make an agreement to pay on the 15th of, say, March, you're actually paying for the month of the first half month of February and the second half month of March, or the first half month of March. Okay.
So
you're paying for the previous month. So it's not like you're paying ahead of time. Okay. Like, if you were paying ahead of time, like you were saying, like, I know that this subscription or this gas bill is going to be, about $30. So here's $30. And now I get a month of gas from here forward. Like that I understand there should be no late fee because you're paying ahead of time. With this, you've technically borrowed money. And, I understand that they have a lot of money, maybe, and they're not going to go bankrupt if you don't pay it right away. But they are expecting these certain refunds or this money to get back to them at a certain time.
Sure.
And so I understand where you're coming from, but by purposefully not paying on time, you're basically breaking an agreement that you have with that company and that subscription service or whatever. And yeah, it's kind of lame that they sometimes attach fees to it. It's certainly lame that it can horribly destroy your credit score enough to the point where you can't get a loan when you need it. But again, it is kind of showing like you're not responsible enough to take out a loan. And the reason why I don't think your idea is stupid is because basically what you're doing is you're using a credit card without using a credit card. And what I mean by that is you're not making the payment, whereas other people would be making that payment with a credit card. So they would be taking money from somewhere else that they don't have.
People do that?
In order to pay for something that you can't do it with student loans. You can't use credit cards to pay for student loans, but you can for, a gas bill.
Well, right. But I guess you're right. I was looking at it like more like for student loans. They're going to use a credit card to pay, but okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, right. That makes sense.
So they're using money that they don't have, and they're just, it's just a horrible cycle. You're not using money that you don't have. You're getting the money and just paying it back a little bit later, which is exactly what they're doing. So all the people that are calling you stupid are probably doing the exact same thing, just differently, because they're paying for it with money that they don't have so that they can pay it back later too.
Right. I have a hard time though with saying that I've basically borrowed money from Comcast or whoever I have a subscription service with.
Okay.
Because so let me ask you this. If somebody provides you a service, do you consider that they've loaned you money? Like if I come and shovel your driveway, have I loaned you money?
Have we signed an agreement saying that if you shovel my driveway, I'll give you $20?
No, we've just had a verbal contract.
Yeah.
I mean,
with personal interaction, it is just a verbal contract usually.
Okay, but let's say so let's say I own a landscaping business.
Okay.
So, and you hire me to shovel your driveway or whatever I do for landscaping. Not every time do you sign some kind of paper agreement, right, with anybody you go into business to. But so your whole thing is if you sign something, because again, like you're right, with Comcast, I've signed something. With auto loan, I've signed something saying I've agreed to this. So is your stance that like because you've signed something, now it's the same thing as kind of receiving money from that person? Like I'm trying to see why do you consider it receiving money, because I feel like they're just giving me a service.
Yeah, well, you pay for services, so it's not like you're receiving money. I mean, we wouldn't be trading money.
No, but you said the way I should look is that I've borrowed money from Comcast. Because you were saying about how it's in the past and how like, well, really what you've done is you've borrowed money from Comcast.
I guess what I mean is you've borrowed a service, which is time that they've spent doing something for you that they could have spent doing something else to earn money. So it's kind of just the concept of time is money. Okay,
that's a good point. I never thought about that, actually, what you said. Okay, they could have done something else instead of putting time and service in towards me.
Because they're putting their time and service towards you to make that money.
Okay, right.
So it's money that they could have been making with another more loyal
put their
client.
Energy somewhere else, right? Okay, that makes sense. I didn't think about that, actually. That's a pretty good point. But, yeah, I guess I just look at it, too, because this way that if they make a mistake, let's say the credit card company, like let's say you pay everything on time, right? Like you're really good. You have good paying habits, right? Yeah. Because of a clerical issue, now your credit score is dropped. Well, you don't have it, like you can't recoup a late fee from them. They don't give you any kind of extra credit. So if they make a mistake, now yes, their mistakes are very rare. I'll give you that because they're very organized, obviously. But again, when mistakes happen on their end, you can't recoup anything. But again, they'll get bailed out by the government. They'll get, so that's all my thing with you need to pay on time. Like that's like, well, listen, I'll get you the money in that same month. I've made my month payment. It's some compounding things for me that go together with it as well. And again, I know it's not always right or whatnot, but that's just the way I view it in things in my life.
Now, there are horror stories everywhere. You can watch any news channel and there's going to be shit going on somewhere. Sure. People are always getting fucked over.
Sure.
Everywhere in the world there are people that are truly just it's unfortunate. And yes, that happens. Some people do get screwed over by other people's mistakes or other companies' mistakes. And yes, sometimes it does feel like the man, in quotes, is getting away with all this stuff and getting bailed out by the federal government.
Right.
It is bullshit. It sucks, especially as as someone who's not really a part of that system, even though you technically kind of are because you're contributing to it. But I guess what I want you to kind of gain an understanding of is by you making a late payment for a service that was already provided to you and thinking that you're sticking it to the man, in quotes, is I'm just going to use this word even though it sounds a little aggressive. I don't mean it to sound aggressive. Wrong. Because you're not sticking it to the man. Obviously, you're the one that's suffering the consequences by not paying on time.
Right.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is a better way to, in quotes, stick it to the man is to pay off your debts on time.
Right.
Not just on time, but as soon as fucking possible. Yeah. Get out of debt as soon as fucking possible.
Right.
That's the best way to stick it to the man because they're sticking it to you every month with the interest that they're earning from you.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting you say that because I talked to one time when I was having a Comcast guy come in, install a box, whatever. I was talking to the guy making small talk or whatever, and he told me that Comcast, or I guess they're called Xfinity now, most of their profit and revenue, he said, comes from the late fees of people not paying their Comcast bill.
Yeah.
So he said they don't make profit margin off of yours, $60 a month for your service package or whatever, for your cable package. He said that because it's the profit margin of that is not much. It probably costs, you pay Comcast $60, but it costs them $55 to provide that service to you. So they'll only make $5 profit margin. Whereas that late fee of $10 or whatever it is, maybe small, but that's pure profit margin for them is what this guy was telling me and everything. And I found that kind of got me thinking about what you were saying about how, I'm actually not really sticking it to the man because now when I pay this late fee, that's pure profit for Comcast or whatever this guy was telling me.
Well, not just that. They're not just benefiting from it. You're suffering from it. Just like you tried to get a loan to fix your car.
Right.
Because your credit was fucked up because of some late payment.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of just a backwards way of thinking. And I want you to know that that's how I used to think too.
Right.
So I'm trying to just approach it a little bit differently.
Yeah, I think with like I said, with this financial stability that I've hopefully attained now with this new position in my company, I'm planning on, for the first time in my life, having every payment on like auto pay. I've never done that purposefully. Like when businesses or services try to sign me up for auto pay, I say no. I just tell me a due date on purpose, because I don't want to overdraft my account, because I have that fear of overdrafting my account, and so I would purposely put nothing on auto pay.
Yeah.
So that I could purposely choose when I pay my bills. Because I used to, like right out of college, I had almost everything on auto pay. And I can't tell you how many times I got hit with overdraft fees and stuff because of auto pay.
That's why I find the game of finance is so much fun. It's resource management.
It's a good point.
At its most critical.
Right. That's a very good point, a way to look at it. Resource like management puzzle type riddle thing of like, okay, I need to figure out how to crack this code. And
it's so hard because there's so much out there. It's like, okay, I sent this physical check out. Now, when are they going to deposit that check?
Right.
I have to know that in my checking account, I have to minus that amount every single time I want to make a payment so that I don't get overdrafted.
Right.
It's such a... It truly can be a fun game when you start playing it, and I think you'd be really good at the game, especially now with your income.
So my mind has been slowly starting to change, even before I got this promotion a little bit. I still wouldn't say that even before the promotion I would be at maybe financially comfortable to put everything still on auto pay, but more things I was willing to do put on auto pay than I had in the past. Because I was still making decent money and everything, but again, I still didn't feel I had that financial stability to do that. But I was coming around the bend, like you said. Just if I'm kind of realizing, let's be honest, with age comes wisdom a little bit. You start looking at life a little bit differently. Your priorities change, obviously, as you increase in age. And so I started starting to agree with your philosophy and the way of looking at it. It just took me a while, unfortunately, and everything. But yeah, it's tough, and maybe I'll truly turn that bend at some point, and see. But I'm still not fully there yet.
It's not just wisdom either. I mean, obviously, over these past how many ever years that you've been spending money, you've been accumulating things that you want and you desire. Now you have all those things that you want and desire. You're probably getting to the point where there's not much materialistic, physical items that obviously we all want more.
Sure.
But you're probably getting to the point where you're comfortable with what you have. And now having to move from Colorado to Texas with all that stuff, you're gonna really realize like how much stuff you own. Yeah. So it's not just wisdom that you gained. You gained all of this other stuff that's going to help you live a comfortable life from here forward. That's why I think it's funny that, when that old people, like some people are like, how do people retire when they're old? Like, how do they live without like working and earning an income? It's because they pretty much already have everything they need. They just need the necessities from that point on.
Yep.
And the love and caring of their like family members,
right?
Don't call them enough.
And I don't know if you've done other podcasts about this, but I'm curious, I guess, maybe what you did and maybe how your financial outlook like changed when it comes to bills and things of that nature, or maybe how you evolved or what that looks like. I'm curious because I don't really know your true full story. Like you said, you used to have kind of similar philosophies to me when it comes to sticking it to the man or whatever. Like, what helped you change and evolve, or maybe get out of that mindset for yourself?
Well, it kind of comes back to the fear of having a family.
Oh, okay.
Like once I had the family, I kind of, in quotes, made the mistake before I was prepared in order to make that mistake, or to make what potentially would be less of a mistake. I guess what I'm saying is, like, I had a family before I was really ready. Just like you said, you were worried about having a family before you were ready.
Right.
And so knowing that it's not just me, like it's not just me on the line now.
Right.
It's my future generations that are going to be suffering from my choices if I don't change my outlook on this and start improving my situation. $10,000 in the bank is great for some, but it's not great for others, especially when you have over 100,000 in debt.
Right.
So yeah, I read some books that were fortunately given to me by family members. And I started realizing that, I've always been making good payments towards my student loans.
Mm-hmm.
Looking back, I could have been putting more money into it if I wasn't spending it in other places. But I realized that all of the interest that they're earning, and student loan companies.
Those companies, right?
That they're earning off of me, I could be giving to myself if I were investing that money instead.
Right.
And so that's money that's just truly being wasted, making up for the past.
Right.
And that is my plan eventually, is to, start investing enough money while also figuring out how much, expenses are enough, not excessive,
right,
on averagely on a monthly basis.
Right.
So like, let's say we spend about $2,000 a month, and that's including everything, and it goes up and down obviously with different situations. But I'm making, say $4,000 a month. Where's that other about $2,000 going? I want it to be going towards me. I don't want it to be going to student loans.
Absolutely.
Companies.
Yeah, no, it's a good way. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was just curious. Like I said, I never really kind of knew what kind of triggered you to start making some changes in your life. And so, yeah, having a family, that's okay. Right. Yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it for sure.
Really, it was that book, though, because I remained ignorant and fearful once I had the kid. And I was constantly thinking, like, what if I lose my job? Or what if the car breaks down, and what if all of this other stuff happens simultaneously? It was just constant fear. And now, like you said, how you were worried about certain payments that you were worried were going to come up, I'm starting to get to the point where it's okay right now. Like we're still in a little bit of fear, but once we're out of debt and we have a savings, that's what a savings is for.
Right.
Is to be able to pull yourself out of these emergencies, and then you just put the money back in savings.
So let me ask you this, since you're talking about like family and finances, because I've been thinking about this lately, like when and if I have children, which I plan to, but like I've decided, and I told myself, I will never let my children take out student loans.
Okay.
I will tell them, no, I'm not co-signing. You're not going to sign up. Like, I'm going to be extremely harsh to them about if you're like, well, then I'm going to sign up without you or whatever type of thing. If I'm in a position where I can't afford for their college or whatever, I'm going to push them so hard to not take out student loans. I don't care, private, federal government, whatever. Just because I think there's so many other ways you can navigate your life to where you don't have to have student loan debt.
See, you're already in the right mindset, man.
A lot of people disagree with that, though.
What?
Like my own yes. My own parents think that it's bad to push your child to say, no matter what your hopes and aspirations are, do not take out college student loans. They think it is a limiter that I'm, prohibiting my child, in their opinion.
Okay.
From who knows what type of thing.
I understand where they're coming from, because it is a tool. I mean, obviously,
Correct.
Student loans are great for some people.
Correct.
With your situation, you have plenty of time to save up enough money to help your kids go to college.
Right.
And especially if you start paying off your debts now and investing correctly.
But let's assume I don't, though. We get to a point in my life where I don't have that money, though, when my child is ready. That's what I'm talking about and planning for.
Yeah.
Let's say I don't have the ability to pay for their college.
Well, prevention would be a great situation in that scenario. Like start saving as soon as you can.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't know. Like that's the cool thing about humans, is we're great at adapting to situations.
Well, I'm curious what you would do.
What I would do?
Yeah, with your own children. So because you actually have children, okay?
Yeah.
And so I'm curious if you thought about this. Like, well, let's say, just for whatever reason, like just planning, quote unquote, worst case scenario.
Okay.
You guys can't afford to pay for your children's college.
Okay. First of all, let's play some hypotheticals. I'm gonna pretend to be in your situation.
Okay,
I don't yet have kids.
Okay.
It sounds cliche, but I'm gonna start as soon as possible, and that means today.
Okay.
So I'm gonna start figuring out ways. I'll start reading books or whatever to start paying off debts now and investing now and saving up money now, so that in the future I'll have a little bit of money for my kids. And then once I do have kids, I'll still continue doing that, trying to again keep my expenses reasonable, not excessive. We don't need all of this crap that we buy. Accumulation is an addiction in the United States of America. So I'm going to start making plans to save up money as much as possible and keep working hard. Obviously, that's kind of where we get our money, is from working hard. Whether people want to disagree with that, or it's all semantics at that point. Then I will have hopefully some sort of savings account. And if shit does hit the fan and some horrible catastrophe happens and another horrible catastrophe happens, I obviously have to use what resources I have. So I'll have to dip into the savings. And then if it gets to the point where, I only have $3,000 or $4,000 to give my kid when they graduate to go to school with, that pays for, at a community college, at least a year.
Right, but my question,
right?
But I guess the question I want to hear specifically you answer is, would you steer your child away from getting student loans? Would you say, so I'm, okay.
It should be a last resort.
Okay, so that's what I want to know is, would you say, hey, I'm not, I'm talking about, would you take the step of your child comes to you and says, hey, Dad, I want to go to this college. I know we can't afford it. I would like for you to co-sign some of my student loan. Are you going to say yes or no?
I would probably say yes if it was the last case scenario.
Okay, see, I would still say no.
Okay.
I would firmly say no, I'm not co-signing ever.
That is your decision.
Right, of course.
And it's your financial situation that's on the line at that point. So, of course, you have the right to do that. The reason why I would do it is because I know that I've paid off my debts in the past, and I know I could do it again. I would also do it because my dad helped me that way, because that was the only way he could help me.
Gotcha.
And it benefited me. I went to school, I got a degree, and I got a job using my degree. It can't be said like that for most people.
Sure.
So I would help my children out in that way. Now, like I said, prevention is best. I would try to prevent that as much as possible. And there's also other ways that you can go about before you get to that last resort.
Exactly.
Your child can get a job while in school.
Yep.
They can live with you while going to a state school, which is much cheaper than some private school.
Maybe. If they get in, I mean, they still got to get in.
Maybe those are the options. Maybe those are better limitations than saying, maybe the limitation of saying you have to go to a state school and you have to be nearby, maybe even live with us for a while in order to help pay for school is a better limitation than saying I'm not signing any student loans at all.
Right. It's an interesting thought experiment of like, you're right, what route would you go? Obviously based on where you're at in your life. I've been thinking about that lately, and where I stand at today, at 35 years old, I still would put my foot down and tell my child, I'm not supporting any kind of student loans. Because again, there are, like you said, there's other ways that we can do this that we don't need student loans. Like, I agree with you. There's we can figure it out without having to do that and without you incurring this massive debt.
The best time to figure it out, though, is right now.
Yes, correct.
Because college isn't going to happen for your kids for at least, 20 years. Let's just throw that number out there. Correct.
Absolutely.
Because it takes 9 months for pregnancy, 18 to graduate.
Right.
And we'll just throw an extra year on top of that for padding.
Sure. Absolutely.
So you've got plenty of time to do it, but yes, you do need to start now. Or it's best to start now. I was going to go with the whole student loan thing. I think what you're saying is very smart. I think it's very intelligent to say, no, we're not going to do that. And struggle and use that drive and that inspiration to try to find a much, much better route than borrowing hundreds of thousands of dollars. However, I do want to say, and you have to admit this, and maybe not, if you want to play devil's advocate, you can, but you have to admit it's a little hypocritical for someone to say A and do B, or whatever.
Yes.
To say, don't do this, but they're doing that. Or they already did that.
Right.
So what I'm saying is, like, your student loans have helped you get to this point where you're at. And I mean that in a way that those experiences and those things that you learn in college, those networking opportunities, the people that you met, everything that you gathered from college outside of the college.
Yeah. Outside you're talking about of the scholastic parts of it, okay.
Is still something that you technically paid for.
Yes, I agree.
And with that came your confidence, your strength,
Sure.
I'm blanking on all that. But you are the person you are because of your college experience, all of your college experience. And part of that money went towards that.
What about the people, so let me push back. What about the people who do everything you described, but they don't get that confidence in college now? Because they only focus on like the scholastic part. Mm-hmm. So they didn't get that quote unquote skill that now you're saying everybody's paid for, right? They didn't obtain that skill. Now, are we going to say, well, that's their own fault? Like, hey, that's, they should have got the full college experience. That's on them to get that. Or are we going to say, well, hey, they didn't actually get what they paid for now because they didn't they didn't get the things that you just described of myself.
Like I said, there's people getting fucked over all over the place.
Okay.
And it's unfortunate, but it happens.
Yep. No,
and
you're right. You're right.
They're going to need to learn to adapt and, do whatever they can to make the best of their situation. And if their situation was just horrible and it was completely non-beneficial to them and they signed a contract, that sucks.
Yeah.
That really fucking sucks.
Right.
And the best way to prevent that is to go back in time 20 years, convince their parents to start helping them save for their college.
All right, Marty McFly. No,
yeah, right.
Right.
So, it sucks and it's dark, and a lot of people have this idea that money is evil. Money is not evil. It's a tool that we use.
Right. Yeah,
Everybody uses it.
Yeah.
So, yes, the best thing that you can do is just pay off your debts, start saving, and if you really, really want to help your kids out in the future, one of the best ways you can do it is financially and also showing a lot of love and support.
Yeah. I want to stay on the topic of like children and things you'll talk about with them because, again, knowing at the age where I'm, I want to start having children, hopefully soon or whatnot, and things of that nature. I've been thinking more a lot just recently, last couple year or two or whatever, about things that might come up with my children and stuff, and how I would approach it. So I'm curious, like, I like to dabble in the marijuana and other mind expanding drugs from time to time.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just curious your thoughts, like, of what kind of talks you maybe would have with your children when they start to maybe reach that age where they might get introduced to that in their own personal lives or whatever. What your thoughts are?
Oh, that's easy, man.
Easy?
I mean, I think it's easy. It's probably one of those things that it's simple but not easy, because obviously talking to kids about, certain situations can be a little maybe nerve-wracking or just make you nervous as a person or anxiety-filled or whatever. It'll bring up all these past memories from, the mistakes that you made, and you don't want your kids to make those mistakes, but they're going to make mistakes anyway, and they're going to learn from them. I think it's easy because it really comes down to the simple idea that I have in my head of just be honest with your kids.
Okay.
And I know that there are times where telling a white lie may be more beneficial, or, maybe not being fully honest is the best idea, but you can still be honest with them, and you don't have to tell a white lie. There's ways around it. I mean, communication is fun. We're enjoying it right now.
Sure.
There's ways to speak with your children in an honest way that still leaves them questioning and wondering, obviously, because there's still so much life to experience, but will also give them enough information without going too far, but without not giving them enough that they're so curious that they go out and, do what the Amish do when they when they do their thing.
Gotcha. Rahmspringer. Right.
Yeah.
Just go all out. Right. Yeah.
So you can give them enough information, but still leave them curious, and not give them too much information, or maybe lie to them and tell them, no, it's horrible. Don't do any of this. Your only bad things are going to happen if you do these things. Or never take out student loans.
Right. I guess what I'm asking is I want to know specifically, like, if your son comes to you and is like, hey, Dad, like, some kids offer me some weed or whatever. Like, I want to know specifically, like, I want to know, like, okay, what are you going to tell your child about, like, weed and marijuana?
Yeah, I would be honest. So for the specific situation of marijuana, I would say, health-wise, depending on how you're smoking it, weed alone is not dangerous. Okay. I would put that out there. I would mention, like, based off of our current timeline, vape pens aren't the healthiest because of all the other artificial stuff that's put in there. Even though we thought they were so healthy when they first came out, they're really not that great for you.
Right.
So if you're going to smoke weed, maybe just do it out of an old-fashioned pipe.
Right. Okay. But you
also,
like, okay. Sorry. No.
Sorry. Yeah.
Continue.
I would continue with the obvious stuff when it comes to any sort of psychedelic or mind-altering substance. Don't operate machinery.
Okay, there you go. I was going to ask, what if he's like, oh, well, like, hey, Johnny was like smoking weed last night when he drove us to the movies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, how would you feel about that? Would you say, hey, well, listen, son or daughter, you shouldn't be getting in that car? I'm just curious. I'm curious, like, because I've thought about that, like, that exact scenario.
Yeah.
And I would probably tell my child, like, because I've thought about, like, again, like, I've gotten in the car with people who are been smoking like my life growing up. We all have. So like, I would actually tell my child like, because I feel like many parents out there would say, yeah, no, don't get in that car with Johnny, blah, blah, blah.
You could speak to your child the same way you're speaking to me right now.
Right, yeah.
And they would appreciate you so much more. They would
Right.
respect you so much more as a parent for being honest with them. And yeah, they say that there's no book on parenting, but Kristen and I have read many books on parenting. There's a lot of really good information out there, along with podcasts now too.
Sure.
And I don't believe that there's necessarily a right answer because it's somewhere in the bell curves, and right would be on an extreme, like we were talking about. And I don't think there's a wrong answer either. But I think you have to take into account your child's emotions. You have to kind of try to limit. I don't know. Yeah,
all right, let's
tough,
just say
man.
specific. I'm just saying specifically, what would you like right now today? If your child came and said, "Hey, like I know we've talked about like smoking weed and stuff or whatever," and like,
Well, my son's 4, so
how do you? No, I'm just saying. All right, I'm just saying as they get older, or whatever, and they say, "Hey, like, is it fine to get in the car with somebody who's been smoking?" Like, just answer that question. I'm just curious. I want you to answer that. Like, how would you answer that to them? I'm your child. I'm asking you. Hey, Daddy Bryan, how I know we talked about weed and everything, and you've kind of told me what to expect with it and stuff, and I've tried it a couple times, but I was a little concerned because the other day when I was hanging out with Johnny, he smoked and then drove us all to the movies. Like, do you think it's okay to like get in a car with somebody who's been smoking, Dad?
Yeah. I mean, I'd probably get into the specifics in that situation. I'd be like, well, first of all, did you know that he was smoking?
Yeah, I knew.
Before he drove?
Yep, I knew. I watched him.
Okay. So you knew that he was smoking, and you knew that he was probably potentially high while he was driving you?
Yeah.
Did you maybe consider the idea of asking him to like not drive you places? But this would all come after me telling them basically like, hey, dude, I've done the same thing.
So do you think, honest. I guess my question I guess would say is, how would you feel if they said, because here's what I would say, I guess here's my stance.
Okay, yeah. I kind of want to hear this.
People would consider maybe this extreme, be like, hey, yeah, it's fine to get in the car with Johnny. Now, just so you know, I want you to be prepared, Johnny might crash his car because he's smoking. You don't know how he handles weed. You know how you personally handle weed if you've tried it, son. And if you haven't, you don't know what that feels like. But only Johnny knows how he handles weed. So honestly, you're probably safe. 9 out of 10 times, Johnny's going to drive fine. It's not actually probably safer, a little bit slower, because again, I've been in the car with many people who have been high, including myself as a driver, and I've also been in the car with people who are drunk. And I can tell you, if Johnny's only been smoking, yes, son or daughter, I feel fine with you getting in the car with them, but I would probably do some things like put my seatbelt on. I mean, I would take a lot of extreme precautions because, you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen if Johnny's sober, let's be honest. But the fact that your friend Johnny has been smoking weed now and is high, there's a little bit of an increased risk. Not much, but a little bit. So, you're going to be fine.
More than likely.
Right, more than likely. But man, take some precautions and know that stuff could happen. And you need to be prepared for ways out of it. He might get pulled over by the police. And you're probably going to all get in trouble.
Yeah.
And you're going to be in trouble with me if that happens. Because I've raised you to make, I'm just like, that's exactly what I would tell my child. Because I've raised you a certain way to avoid those, situations. You're going to make whatever choice you want. But I want you to understand the possible outcomes of what can happen. I mean, that's literally what I would tell my kid. Yeah, get in the car. You're fine.
That sounds
Don't
perfect.
worry about it.
That sounds perfect to me. I could see how other people would be against the idea of saying get in the car with someone who's smoking weed. Now, the reason why it seems okay with me is because you and I have both made the same mistake. And fortunately enough, none of those horrible consequences happened with either one of us.
Correct.
But they have happened to others.
Correct.
So yes, mentioning that there are consequences to their actions is a big part of it, without going so far as to saying, like, if you smoke weed, you're going to go to hell kind of thing.
Right.
Don't put the fear too much on them.
Right. But that's why I was kind of curious, because people consider my stance an extreme thing. Like, oh my God, that's so crazy. You would tell your child that.
I mean, we probably shouldn't be saying this on camera and stuff, like giving this kind of advice to other people, because they should certainly be taking their situation into account.
Sure.
With our situation, like, more than likely Johnny's taking side roads. He's not getting on the highway. If he does get in an accident, they're going like, 35 at most? Right. Sure.
Like,
more than likely, these kids with all them stem cells running through their body, they're going to be fine.
Right. Yeah, no, very good point. Very good point.
My fear, actually, my initial fear of my kid getting in the car with Johnny was that they would get pulled over by the police. And because there's way more consequences that come of that.
Very good point, right.
Than if they were to not get pulled over by the police, make it to the movie theater, and be able to make it home. What's a movie theater nowadays?
Right. Yeah, right. No, so true.
So, yeah, I think you've got the right idea of being honest and open.
Now,
with
what about a little bit more hardcore, like psychedelics, like let's say like mushrooms? Let's say, how would you approach your child with mushrooms? They want to take psilocybin.
I would probably have the mind and mindset conversation with them. Like you want to be in the right mind, and you also want to be the set and setting, mindset, and the physical location in which you're doing these, and the people that you're around.
Would you ever say to your child, let's do it together first, so you can experience it in a safe environment, and then you can decide if you want to do it again at future times on your own?
Oh, man. No, I would never do anything illegal. Wink, wink.
Okay. It's actually I believe it's decriminalized though now, so you're okay to say.
Plus 18 years from now, or however years from now.
I'm just saying technically it's decriminalized, so I think you're safe to say.
Yeah. Let's just. Can we use alcohol as a metaphor?
Sure.
For certain, it is a mind-altering substance. So let's just use alcohol for example.
Okay.
I'd probably say to my son, if he's in quotes of age to drink, I'd probably say, let's experiment with that at home.
Okay.
And I'll stay sober. Mom and I will stay sober. We'll leave you alone if you want to be left alone, or we'll be there to help if you want us to get you some water, or if you want, some food.
Wait a minute. You think your child? You think your child at the age where they're ready to drink is going to want to drink with their parents? I mean, right? Let's be honest. Hang out with your parents. Would you want to hang out with your parents when you were at that age? Right? Like, let's be realistic here.
I think there's a lot of prerequisites that come with that. You have to build up the respect. You have to build up the trust over the 18 years.
Good point.
You're raising them.
Okay, so you're right. You've established that.
21 years.
Right. You've established that. Okay, so good point.
And I do believe that if you develop a strong enough relationship with your kids in a way that they are trusting of you, and you're honest with them, and you're just you truly love each other without you putting fear on them or lying to them, telling them that they're going to go to hell if they do this thing. I think that they will get to the point where, if they're just hanging out at home and they're having a conversation with you, Dad, what's being drunk like? What is that like? And you're just, sitting at the table. It's late at night. There's no TV on or anything. There's no distractions. It's just you and him having a conversation, which hopefully you've been doing, consistently for the past 18 years. I would probably, I would probably approach it just like with the fat girlfriend scenario. I'd probably kind of approach it like that. I'd be like, well, me describing what it's like to be on alcohol or a psychedelic medicine is pretty difficult to explain. Would you like to try a little bit? Would you like to drink this beer?
Right.
And I'd offer it to them.
Okay.
And they can say no, which I would completely respect because they're saying no to peer pressure.
Sure.
Which hopefully that's not really peer pressure.
Right.
At
Sure.
that
Sure.
point.
I know what you're saying though. Right.
And if they accepted the beer, you have a beer in front of your dad all the time, man.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
When it's just you and him chatting and having a conversation. I'm not saying all the time, but on a regular basis, you have a beer with your dad.
Yeah, all the time.
Why wouldn't that happen, a few years earlier before you ever had a beer,
Well, because people would say, oh, you're encouraging, a not so good, quote unquote, behavior of drinking, that you're encouraging, and it can lead to excess drinking.
That's their opinion.
Right. No, exactly. No, I agree. But that's what they would say is, right, oh, well, you're encouraging, right, excess drinking and stuff. Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah. No, I don't agree with that either. But
you and I are very good at not giving a shit about what other people say when it comes to their opinions that are not similar to our opinions, but not based on any real life experience or evidence.
Sure.
Like we have to. I think about Europe all the time when it comes to alcohol, man. Those kids are drinking at the age of 6.
Right. Some of them. Yeah. You're right. It's they're around it. They're introduced to it very early. Yes. Correct. From what I've heard. Right.
Yeah, and they're not dying at a quicker rate of alcohol poisoning any faster than we are here in the States.
Right.
And to be honest, I think we probably. I mean, I don't know for certain, but if I had to guess, I would say that we have more issues with alcohol and young people in
Yeah,
the
I
States
agree.
than they do in Europe.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, I agree. So yeah, no, good. But I just curious because, again, like I said, like I've been thinking about this stuff like, oh, what if one day I open up my son's, sock drawer and find like a baggie of weed or mushrooms or whatever, and like just like how would I kind of handle, these things start thinking coming up in your mind and head.
It's tough being a parent, man. It's hard, and there is no right answer because every scenario is completely different, and you just kind of have to do what you feel is best, but also take into account their emotions. They're a person too, and there's a reason why they're doing this.
Right.
It could just be curiosity. It could just be experimenting. It could be you've been a horrible parent and you've been nagging them their entire life, and they just need to relax. It could be you put so much fear onto them about this substance that, they got curious and they wanted to try it. So, my whole thing right now is just prevention when it comes to finances, when it comes to, developing a good, loving relationship with your child. You don't want to start doing that at the age of 20.
Right. Okay.
So
prevention, I feel like, and I don't know, a better word maybe proactivity. Like prevention just sounds...
You're right.
Like you're hindering.
I'm preventing. I'm preventing them from living their life.
Yeah. I know that's not what the word prevention means, but you're being proactive.
Correct.
Too. Okay, gotcha.
That's much better. I respect that.
Okay. Gotcha. Interesting.
Hey, so
like that.
So Nathan, we've been chatting for like an hour and 30-something minutes.
Wow.
Or 40 minutes even.
Wow.
I think we should probably wrap it up soon, unless you want to keep chatting.
Yeah. No, man. This has been great. This has been exactly what I wanted to do. Talk about some of the things that have been heavy on my mind. Again, you have some life experiences I don't have with children and whatnot, so it's very good to get your perspective on it and maybe some ways to handle it because you have a life experience that I don't have.
Mm-hmm. Same with you.
Yeah.
Like, I live vicariously through you sometimes. It's like,
be careful doing that, man. But yeah, no, this chat was great.
Thank you.
I took a lot from it. Some things to consider. Some things to self-reflect on after this, to really, because again, and that's what I know we're signing off or whatever. If there's one message I can maybe leave the audience with, is again, I really take some time to self-reflect more in your life, whether you want to call that meditation, whatever. Take some time, whether it's daily, weekly, whatever, to really sit back and say, hey, what did I do this week? What was good? What was bad? What should I have done better? What could I have worked on? How did I treat my loved ones? How did I treat my employees? And then, and harp on both. What did you do negative and how can you improve? And then what did you do positive and pat yourself on the back? Because you don't want to always harp on the negative, and you obviously don't want to always harp on the positive. But I do think self-reflection will really help people grow, and whether it's, again, in your career, in your relationships, your social interactions, relationship with your family. A lot of people just don't do that. So take some time to self-reflect if you can throughout your life and be honest.
Okay.
And that's what I would leave with people to one thing to take away, in my opinion.
I love that. That is a beautiful message. Now, if I had one message to give to you, it would be to self-reflect, and I would probably suggest starting with your financial situation.
I think you're right.
And one reason why that I want to leave you with is we're talking about our children here. Our children are related.
Yes.
They're going to be cousins of one another. Now, in the future, I want you to be in a good financial situation to where if we want to go on a family trip, you can afford that comfortably.
Yeah.
You can afford that confidently.
Yeah.
And then we and our children can go together with all of the love and all of the friendship and support that we can muster with our financial situation. And the better way to do that would be to get some good finances in order.
Yeah, I'm going to really do that. I might ask you some questions here in the future too about it. So I appreciate
would love it, man. And
I appreciate it. Hey, thanks for the time, dude. It was good.
Yeah.
It was good. This was awesome. So I really appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot.
Of course. Yes. And I'm going to have you back. So.
Yes, I'd love to be back again. Yeah, I don't leave till June.
Okay.
So we got some time to maybe do another one. And if we do another one, I'll think of some, you know what I'll do next time? I mean, I know we had kind of talked about doing this, and I knew we were going to come up, but, now that I know we're doing another one, I'll think of some other, because we didn't really debate too much. I'll think of some other topics. I'm like, okay, hey, I want to talk about this. Let's see his point, because I know of something that we'll like maybe differ on. And I'll kind of have those with us just, to stir up some good conversation.
I'll do my best, man. So, there were some times where you would ask a question today, and I was like, oh man, like I don't know, like
right, yeah.
It's hard to put yourself in a scenario that you're not actually in.
Sure. But
anyway, yes.
All right. Well, when we do it again, I'll be looking forward to it.
Thanks, Nathan. Yeah.
All right, guys. See ya.
All right, players, thank you so much for listening. Keep grinding, keep playing, and we'll catch you at the next checkpoint.
See ya.
Bye.